Hi there.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Flying Frog video. Here we have the MiG-21 that arrived on the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace today for a whopping $60 Australian, or approximately 42 US or 41 Euro. Now this one's from Golden Key Studios, so what we're going to do is we're going to get in, have a look and see if it's worth its $60. So far, from this distance, it looks fine. It looks really nice. I like the modelling, the way they've done the weathering and such like that. Now, Golden Key Studios are a Ukrainian-based developer. Just for a little bit of history, so they should know the MiG-21. Now, the MiG-21 has been in development, or at least is the world's most mass-produced supersonic fighter. First came into use in 1955 and was used all the way through to 1985. So, now let's look at the graphics, or at least the decals on the fuselage here, and they look fine. Really nice. You know, a little bit of fuzziness, but the camouflage itself, it looks perfectly fine. Let's come around here to the nose. Now look at that. The landing gear disappears. So there's something going on here. We come back and there it goes. It's back again. So, yep, don't know what that is, but that needs to be fixed, because I'm sure that's chewing up frame rates. So let's get down here and have a look around. Now, the weathering looks fine. Looks dirty, been around in the snow, the ice, the dirt, and it's just been around for a while. So that's not too badly done. And there you go, can't even get in too close to have a look at the front wheel because it just disappears on you. So there's something wrong there. So from this angle, from this distance, it looks fine. And we'll only give it a fine at this point in time. Now here is our air brakes. So, and I don't like how blurry the rivet lines look. They just look a bit off compared to, say, the sum of it. They look out of focus and not quite right. So I think we're going to get the same reaction as we get in a bit closer here. Yeah, it just disappears. So the plane does seem to have some type of issue. So I'm not sure on that, but let's get in here a bit closer and have a look around. Now that looks fine. No pixelating. Look at that. Looks good. They've done well there. The chrome looks like chrome. So, all very nice. Now let's come back through here and come up. Now, so you're getting close to the plane, the sound just disappears. So, there's like an invisible force field around the aircraft. Now, they've done there, again, the decals on the back is very good. So, no complaining there. And actually I don't mind this colour scheme, looks quite good. And as a matter of fact, actually the whole modelling of the aircraft looks quite butch. And I don't mind it at all. Now let's just hop in the back here and stick our heads in the exhaust pipe. But it doesn't go quiet. So there's something in an envelope around the front of the aircraft that seems to be playing up. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll jump into the cockpit and have a look. Okay, here we are in the cockpit, and it looks well done. Let's get in a bit closer now. Everything is in Russian, as you would expect, since it's a Russian plane. I don't read Russian, so I've got no idea on how this is all going to go. Now we do have a chute, which up here we've got on this button here. Now I don't know why it says nuclear bomb parachute deployment. Now I don't get that, but anyway, we can deploy our chute here, and there is also an area down here we can also do here. So if you look for that, I think if you're flying along, or at least when you're landing, it's probably easier just to try and flick this switch here. I don't know if it can be mapped to a controller, which I think it's going to be pretty important to pull this thing up, because I'm sure its brakes won't be the best. So what's these other switches here? Ground explosions. Okay, I don't think we're going to get that. Combat bomb drop, definitely not going to get that. Detonation, on or off. Yep, well, I think these are all a pointless switch. So there we go. So anyway, from what I can tell, most of the switches are clickable. Whether or not they're functional or useful, yeah, well, anybody can make clickable switches. Now for $60, this is on the same price level as the Concorde, and it's got a lot to live up to, and I don't think it's going to have the systems complexity that the Concorde has. So that's a lot to live up to. So let's just have a look around. Cockpit air lever. So at least we get, if we hold over, we do get an English sense of what's going on, so which is fine. Now I know I have tried to do this. I cannot cold dark start this aircraft. There is an issue somewhere here in the throttle. We've got to get the throttle here out of the cutoff position, and as you can hear, it just does not want to come up. So until that's fixed, we cannot do a cold dark start regardless. Now we've had this issue before with other aircraft, so number one, it needs to be fixed. Another little gripe inside this cockpit is the fact we've got this Bendix King transponder and the Bendix King's radios up the front. They don't seem to fit this whole look of the aircraft. So if we're going for, you know, the whole look of this era of aircraft, I don't think we would have had these. I could be wrong. They may have been fitted in afterwards, but I get the feeling that they just don't match in here. However, the weathering, the detailing of the cockpit is fantastic. It's well worn, well used, and rightly so, because it's probably been flown one hell of a lot. So on that note, I'm going to have to meet you at the end of the runway for a takeoff. So I'm just going to have to drop on out. And while I'm going in between, I will be showing you some photos of the other liveries of this aircraft. I think on the whole there's 13 liveries. I think there's 13 liveries, including this one. And it's only just this variant itself. Right. So, yeah, the texturing, I wouldn't know what all that says. So, unfortunately, I don't speak Russian. I do have a friend who does, but she's not here at the moment. She's actually at home looking after her mother in Russia itself. Now we can drop down the canopy, by the way, so while we're here, let's do that. So we can just click on that one down and locks down. Okay. So, right out. I will meet you at the other end of the runway. Okay, here we are at the end of the runway. Now, she loads in on the runway, all started up, ready to go. So now look, in all honesty, there's seems to be a lot of buttons, and I don't have enough time to go through them all. So if you guys do purchase this aircraft, you'll have to do that yourself. Now let's see if there's a difference on the outside when we open up the cockpit. Not really. So that's a bit disappointing. The engine's running, and doesn't seem to be. So let's just go outside and just double check. Okay, yes it is. So that's a little disappointing. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll give you the nighttime view. Okay, here's the night view. Now that looks pretty impressive. Looks pretty spectacular, as a matter of fact. And so the controls for the night, well, the night lights are just down here, so we can actually, as you can see in the middle there, so it's up and down, and then this one here. Oh, that flashes there quite brightly. Don't know why. There you go. I do feel as though this one's got a few bugs in there, and Golden Key simulations need to fix it. Right. So what I'll do is I'll go back to daylight and we'll take a flight up to Sydney. This one is not going to be the easiest one to land either, so it may end up in disaster. So, but anyway, I'll come back when I'm in daylight. Rightio, here we are. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off in the third person view, because I want you guys to have a listen to the outside of this, and I'm going to fly up to Sydney and land at Sydney. So, and what I'll do is while I'm going along, rather than you guys just watching the whole flight, I'll do some flybys, you know, some outside shots. If I get high enough, I'll do a stall test. I believe that, well, looking at the wing, it'll fall like a brick. It'll probably even have the glide angle of a brick. So these thin delta wings just don't fly they don't have a lot of lift at all. So they rely on their speed. Anyway, I'm talking too much. So handbrake off, let's go. Now, to be honest with you, this sounds like a vacuum cleaner. So the outside sound is terrible. Electrolux, eat your heart out. Oh, stay online. Come on. Get some speed up. Yep. Now, the suggestion is to get your gear up pretty quickly, because it acts as a lot of drag, and then get your flaps up as well. Rightio. Yeah, she's not very loud at all, you know, it just sounds like almost like a hairdryer. So I think they could have done the sound packages a little bit better than this. Let's just get some trimming happening. Rightio, what are we doing? We're doing 370 odd knots. Alright, let's hop into the cockpit. Alright. Look, now the views themselves stay like that until you move them back. So yeah, they stay there, but generally not too bad. You know, you can look around fairly well. Right, let's do some manoeuvrability. Now, being a fighter, I expect this one to, yep, she flipped over fairly easily. Not too bad. And what I'll do is I will gain some height and I'll just test to see what it's going to be like. And so now let's back my throttle off a little bit. Let's just back her off a bit. We're up 13,000 feet. No throttle. Let's back it off. It's taken forever to slow down, even at this angle. Which is interesting. As you can see, look, on the speed there on the left-hand side, it's just not dropping. And I'm almost pulled all the way, right, I'm all the way back on my velocity 1. And that's not realistic. That is not realistic at all. I would expect it to fall out of the sky. Okay, I've got hardly any authority, but that, no. Now release off, now she's diving down. But that is not a realistic stall characteristic, I believe anyway. Not that I'm an expert on the MiG-21 at all. Okay. Alright, what I'll do is I'll get some outside shots and then we'll go and see if I can get this puppy into land. And she does have speed brakes. So you can see just there. And I'll drop the gear. That's our gear. This is quite good. Okay, this is attempt number 2. The first attempt is I bounced quite a lot, so I need to try and wash off some speed. Get some flaps down. Now I'm getting major lift at the moment. Okay, my trim's a little high. But what I'm trying to do is just work out on how to land this one. I know it's a little steep at the moment. And again, I'm offline, way offline. Guess he didn't put his gear down. Okay, let's see how we go this time. dropping like a brick, really. She just doesn't want to seem to fly properly. Anyway, gear's not down yet. And there's my gear. Oh! Wow! Well, here we are at Kingsford Smith Airport, Parking Bay 77, home of Brett Plays. The Golden Key Studios Mig 21. 60 Australian dollars, 42 American dollars, 41 euro on the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace. Is it worth 60 Australian dollars? In its current state, no. The throttle doesn't work. I can't do a cold dark start, so we cannot get it out of the throttle cut off position. The aircraft itself looks fantastic. It's well modelled, well put together. On the whole, I like the weathering. There's just something wrong, I feel, with the flight characteristics. She's a very hard one to land properly. It's like 1 minute she wants to overfly, the next minute, particularly when we're coming in for landing, 1 minute she wants to just keep floating, and then next minute she just wants to drop from the sky. And your speed's only dropped by 10 knots, you know, and you've got to land this thing damn quick, really quick. And the chute deployment doesn't work all the time. And you need that chute deployment, particularly if you're on a shorter runway. Otherwise, you got to choose a long runway and prepare to bounce down it, unless you happen to jag a butter landing every time. So that's a minus, I feel. I wouldn't be using this with an Xbox controller. I think it's just going to be way too hard. The cockpit is fine. It's well modelled, well weathered, looks fantastic. They've done a good job there, but there's just things that are just not right. And at $60, I expect it to work perfectly out of the box. So, you know, why aren't you testing these aircraft before they hit the marketplace? Why are you leaving it up to us? Are we your beta testers? I mean, come on now. You know, and there is a worrying trend of aircraft becoming more and more expensive and not offering a huge amount. Currently, what I see in this one, it's got autopilot, yes, which you can use if you program in your onto your controller. There are other nav buttons and stuff like that, but there's a lot of superfluous stuff, like a lot of the weapons stuff we can't use. So, you know, okay, the switches are modelled, but they do nothing. So they go nowhere. Are we paying for dud switches? I'd rather them be inoperative. So, you know, there you go, have it. But would I fly this one again? Yes, I will. Would I enjoy the landing? No, I won't. This is one of the most difficult aircraft that I have come across in the sim to land, period. Do I regret buying this? I regret purchasing it for $60. You know, particularly when we see it on other websites for 49 Australian dollars. So, you know, I feel as though that as an Xbox user I'm being taken advantage of. And do I regret buying it? Yeah, don't know. I'll sit on the fence on that one and fly it a few times and see what happens. But on that note, please like, comment, subscribe. And I'm sorry if I sound so negative to some people. It's just that, you know, we're paying a lot of money for stuff that's generally shouldn't have been released yet. And it is a lot of money, and it's happening way too often. You know, we're wasting our money. We're hoping that we might get an update from the developer, and if we don't, you know, we're left in the lurch. How do we get our money back if we decide, you know, no, this is not good enough? And this product at its current state is not good enough. It shouldn't be released in this state. So, sorry about that. I know I tend to rant and rave a little bit too much. I mean, like I've said before, I'd like all aircraft to be fantastic, and I'd love to be able to fly every one of them and enjoy every one of them, but I definitely don't. And it is a little bit disappointing. However, I do like the model. I do like the look. Its general flight is very good. Its takeoff is very shallow. It takes off like it's got weight to it. It flies like it's got weight to it. It lands like a brick. And I haven't learnt that finesse, and maybe there is something about it. They did apparently have based the flight characteristics on a MiG-21 flight simulator, but that's all they're going by. So it's a simulator of a simulator. So take it from that what you will, but I'm sure that this aircraft landed a little bit better than what we can do in here. But anyway, on that note, please like, comment, subscribe. We can continue on this discussion in my Discord. The link will be in the description below. For those who are interested, there is a startup tutorial on this one on YouTube by Golden Key Studios. I did have a look at it. It's realistically, it bears no relevance to this aircraft. That's basically for the P3D where this one did originally come from. So it's kind of a bit pointless, but if you want to do a search for it, it's definitely there. If not, I'll put it into the description below. So on that note, everyone, please stay safe.